Hello everyone. Imagine a place where the bottomless coffee costs only $0.25. The food tastes like childhood memories, and the vibe is straight out of a vintage postcard, but with a modern flair. The kind of spot where comfort food isn't just served, it's celebrated. Now, add in a dash of nostalgia, a pinch of chef-driven magic, and the kind of warmth that makes you want to stay a while. That's exactly what you'll find at Winnie and Ethel's, a downtown Vegas gem that feels like your grandmother's kitchen, if grandma also had a killer sense of style and the touch of a top chef. Opened in 2023 after winning a small business contest, this retro-inspired diner is serving some of the most aesthetically pleasing dishes you'll ever see. But Winnie and Ethel's isn't just about appearances. The food is the real deal. Every dish is made from scratch, every bite is packed with flavor, and every visit feels like a trip back to a time when food was made with love and a lot of butter. And yes, the 25-cent coffee is real. No time machine required. So with no further ado, let's get started. We began the day with pot roast. Pot roast and I go way back. Before I owned a restaurant, friends would bribe me to make it. Later, it became one of my signature dishes. So believe me when I say it, I know a good pot roast when I see one. And this one? Stellar. Slow roasted till it practically melts. The beef is so tender it barely needs chewing. It's tucked into a soft, toasty roll, slathered with creamy horseradish, and paired with a deep, rich au jus that for once actually tastes like beef, not powdered soup mix as you get many times. This is the type of dish which fired my imagination as a child, and Winnie and Ethel's pulls forth all those memories. And then the fries. Thin, golden, crispy, exactly what you want next to a sandwich this good. As usual, I sneaked in my own homemade ketchup, which felt right at home in a restaurant where homemade is their middle name. Eggs over easy should actually be over easy. Runny yolk, silky texture, zero overcooking. These? Perfect. The biscuit? Light, buttery, and so beautifully layered, it deserves its own photo shoot. The pork chop though? Oh man. Fresh, juicy, and seasoned just right. Has a deep savory richness that keeps me going back for more. And the gravy? Fantastic. Thick, creamy, peppery, so packed with flavor, I started dipping my potatoes in it just for fun. Speaking of potatoes, crispy on the outside, soft on the inside, and cooked just right. No special requests necessary. When I first saw Malted Pancake on the menu, well, I was in a bit of a culinary quandary. I never had a malt pancake before this. And now, I want to know where it's been all my life. The malt adds this subtle depth that makes it extra fluffy, slightly sweet, and way more interesting than your standard pancake. It's served with maple syrup or their house-made cane and butter syrup. I went with the latter, and I highly recommend that option. No regrets here. It's rich, smooth, and basically liquid gold. I'd come back just for this pancake. In fact, I've already penciled them in a week next Tuesday. And this time, I'm bringing reinforcements so I can steal bites of whatever they order as well. And given the pricing options, and not visiting to film mass quantities of food, I'll be getting the 3 for just $13. That's a steal. I know it always seems like we eat a lot, but this video was done in a total of 3 trips. On our second trip, we started off with a classic, country fried steak. At Winnie and Ethel's, it's a crispy golden masterpiece. We ordered it with pounded chicken breast meat. It's then coated in a well-seasoned breading before taking a plunge into the deep fryer. The result? An outer coating as crisp as a brand new Franklin. What a crust. Light, airy, and miraculously grease-free. You get your choice of eggs? Yes, the million-dollar question. Well, we went with the scrambled. By the way, I hear egg prices are finally coming down. How much are they where you live? I'd love to hear. Now let's talk about the hollandaise sauce, my lifelong obsession. This rich, buttery, velvety sauce has been around since at least the 17th century. Believed to have originated in the Netherlands, before the French made it another arrow in their culinary quiver. Ever since I was a kid, whenever I saw it on a menu, it was a must order. The only challenge, figuring out what to put it on. Then it hit me. Why not drizzle it over my scrambled eggs? And let me tell you, it was a revelation. The creamy, tangy hollandaise wrapped itself around the fluffy eggs like a culinary hug. I highly recommend trying it. As for the gravy, solid. Made with house-made sausage, it has great depth, but it could use a touch more salt. That's the way things are these days. Restaurants tend to under-season because many people are convinced salt is bad for you. I approach food with a bit more reckless abandon and add whatever amount of seasoning is necessary to achieve my culinary goal. I also enjoy using the elements at hand to make my own combinations, and so usually order my gravies and sauces on the side. And then we have the potatoes. Winnie and Ethel's absolutely nails them. In fact, it might just be my favorite thing here. The "We" in "We Burger" stands for Winnie and Ethel. And when you attach your name to a dish, it raises the expectations bar substantially. So I'm looking to be wowed, and it did that and then some. In fact, this might just be the sleeper hit of this place. It starts with freshly ground chuck, cooked to order. Of course, as you know by now, we like ours rare, almost still mooing. And they delivered exactly that. The burger is stacked with provolone cheese, crisp iceberg lettuce, smoky tomato, and Worcestershire sauce. But the real star? The bacon jam. This stuff is a game changer. It's smoky, sweet, and salty. Basically, the condiment of the gods. I could spread it on anything. In fact, I'm going to keep some tucked away in the corner as it's too good to let even a drop go unused. I'm sure it will come in handy at some point during the rest of our meal. The burger itself is juicy, packed with flavor, and worlds apart from many of the bland patties I've been having recently. Vicky's Diner immediately comes to mind. Sorry, Vicky. And so, this was easily one of the best burgers in Vegas.
You had me at bacon jam.
And let's not forget those matchstick fries. So crispy, they practically shatter when you bite into them. Winnie and Ethel's, full of surprises. And this "We Burger," I believe this is what marketers would call surprise and delight. According to YouTube, only 20% of those watching right now are subscribed. Subscribing is free, and it greatly helps this channel grow and allow us to bring you more reviews. So please take a moment to subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. French toast has been delighting taste buds for centuries. It dates back to ancient Rome, where cooks soaked bread in milk and eggs before frying it to perfection. The French call it pain perdu, meaning lost bread, since it was originally a way to revive stale loaves. Today, it's a breakfast favorite worldwide, and this version takes it to the next level. The fried cinnamon French toast is a beautiful mess. So many textures and flavors going on at the same time, I feel like I'm in a Fellini film. The French toast, crispy on the outside, while the egg mixture seeps just enough into the bread to create a rich, custardy interior, almost like a bread pudding. We opted to top it with Winnie's caramelized apples, fresh homemade whipped cream, and the aforementioned house-made cane butter syrup. Sounds like a sugar overload, right? Well, surprisingly, the whipped cream is unsweetened. Many love it that way, such as my mother, but I never have been a fan. Give me the sugar, please. The apples, however, steal the show. They're beautifully caramelized Granny Smiths, bringing that sweet tart balance that makes this French toast taste like a warm homemade apple pie. Pair that with the deep molasses-like richness of the cane syrup, and you've got a breakfast worth waking up for. Next time, though, I'm going to skip the whipped cream, but the apples and syrup, absolutely essential. Hanger steak might not be as famous as a ribeye or a filet, but it deserves just as much love. Sometimes called the butcher's steak, because butchers used to keep it for themselves. This cut comes from the diaphragm and is prized for its deep, beefy flavor and incredible tenderness. It was a favorite in my restaurant, an underrated gem with bold umami richness. Here, it's paired with a rich garlic compound butter that melts over the steak, adding another layer of indulgence. I love how the butter mingles with the meat's natural juices, creating a bite that's intensely flavorful and savory and luxurious. You already know I prefer my steak rare, but feel free to order it however you like. I promise I won't hold it against you, even if you like it charred to a crisp. What really stands out is the seasoning. The coarse ground pepper gives it a bold bite, while the salt seeps deep into the meat, enhancing every juicy mouthful. It's a small steak with big personality. And of course, you know my obsession with crispy potatoes. They're golden, crunchy, the perfect sidekick. I went with poached eggs this time, and they're spot on. Silky whites, luscious, runny yolks. Arg! Curse my feeble brain. Why didn't I consider more of that amazing hollandaise sauce? It would have been a brilliant addition. Well, next time for sure. Sadly, there's an abundance of bland, soulless corned beef out there, so I tend to shy away from this dish. But when our server Kevin went out of his way and mentioned this is one of his favorites, and that they make their own corned beef in-house, well, I knew I had to try it. Corned beef has deep roots, dating back centuries to Irish immigrants who popularized it in the United States as an affordable alternative to traditional bacon. Originally preserved with large corns of salt, it became a staple in delis and diners, earning a place in comfort food history. I ordered the fries again, but I also asked for some of their scratch-made ranch. It's cool, tart, with a lot of garlic, light on the salt. As my grandmother used to say, you can always add salt, but you can't take it away. So, of course I added a little, since I like pushing my seasoning to the edge, and they're obviously cautious here. Nevertheless, it's a nice take on ranch dressing. The sandwich is served on marbled rye with horseradish mayo, red-hot pickles, and provolone cheese. The corned beef itself is rich, savory, perfectly salty, almost like pastrami but without the heavy smoke. The horseradish mayo adds a bold, creamy heat that balances every bite, while the red-hot pickles bring just the right amount of spice without overpowering. And the provolone? Smooth, melty, and the perfect finishing touch. Every element works together great in this dish, making this sandwich one that I'd gladly order again. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, brown gravy, and lingonberry jam on sourdough toast. Sounds unusual, right? I've got to say, meatloaf alone is a showstopper, one of the best you'll ever have. Rich, perfectly seasoned, could hold its own without a single topping. Now, mashed potatoes on bread? Well, surprisingly, it works. The creamy texture adds a cozy, nostalgic bite, and that brown gravy, pure beefy goodness, as though it were made straight from a Sunday roast. But the lingonberry jam reminds me of cranberry sauce, which I love, but I couldn't help wishing that they had used their incredible bacon jam instead. And right about now, I'm patting myself on the back for stowing away that extra bacon jam from the Wee Burger. Ah, that's the ticket. Wonderful. Next time, I'm skipping the lingonberry altogether and going all in on the meatloaf with bacon jam. Trust me, that's the move. I also ordered mashed potatoes on the side, and they're smooth, buttery, rich. A little salt brings them to life. And the gravy, it's a kind of deep, beefy, made from scratch perfection that lets you know this place doesn't cut corners. Nearly everything here is made in-house, and you can taste the difference. This towering club sandwich, stacked high with layers of juicy turkey, salty ham, and crispy bacon, all nestled between slices of golden brown sourdough toast. A generous layer of sharp cheddar melts into the mix, while fresh lettuce and ripe tomato add the perfect crunch. It's a kind of sandwich that makes you stop and appreciate the simple joys of comfort food. One bite took me straight back to childhood, when my mom would whip up a homemade club that put restaurant versions to shame. And this thing is massive, easily shareable for parties of 4, but we foolishly tried to tackle it alone. Every layer brings something to the table. The smoky bacon, the creamy cheddar, the perfectly seasoned turkey and ham. It's a flavor-packed, handheld feast. We paired it with Winnie Ethel's potato salad, and let me tell you, it's the real deal. Red potatoes, hard-boiled egg, yellow mustard, pickles, celery, and just the right amount of mayo. It's got the homemade magic that reminds me of my mom's. Creamy, tangy, and with a beautiful crunch. If you're craving a club sandwich that tastes like it came straight from a family kitchen, this delivers. French onion soup dates back to at least the 18th century, though its origins stretch even further to the humble kitchens of France, where resourceful cooks transformed onions and stale bread into something out of this world. Over time, this rustic dish evolved into the rich, cheese-laden masterpiece we know today. I'll admit, I was hesitant to order it. I have super high expectations for French onion soup, as it was one of the best sellers in my restaurant. But I am really glad I chose this. The onions are slow-cooked to deep caramelized perfection, bathing in a luxuriously rich beef stock. A splash of sherry revs up the flavors, adding depth and complexity. Then there's a crowning glory. Golden, toasted bread soaked just enough to melt into the broth, all blanketed in a thick, bubbling layer of gloriously gooey cheese. Be warned, though, it arrives piping hot. I was worried about the integrity of the tabletop after it had been sitting there for a few minutes. You'll definitely want to give it a moment, unless you enjoy melted silverware. But once it's safe to dig in, it's pure comfort in a bowl. The Petite salad is a refreshing counterpart. Crisp iceberg lettuce forms the base, topped with shredded egg, juicy tomato, and plenty of chopped bacon. It's tossed in their house-made creamy ranch dressing. The contrast between the magma-like soup and the chilled salad is incredibly satisfying, making this an ideal meal for balance seekers. Warmth versus coolness, rich yet refreshing. Simple, classic, and well executed. I'd order this again in a heartbeat. After the incredible malted pancake we had on our first visit, I couldn't wait to try this waffle. The idea of malt in a waffle intrigued me. You can definitely taste it, but the waffles themselves are surprisingly thin, almost a cross between a crepe and a waffle, and more the thickness of an ice cream waffle cone. When I first arrived at the table, my first thought was, I'll probably describe this as being flat as a pancake. But then remembered just one of Winnie and Ethel's malted pancakes is thicker than this stack of 3 waffles. Well, though not the thick, fluffy Belgian style, these waffles are absolutely delicious. The warm, house-made cane syrup with butter takes them to another level. I'm glad I chose the 3 waffle version, and I'd happily eat them again anytime. I know you will as well. From the outside, Winnie and Ethel's appears to be just your average diner. But once the food arrives, you realize it's more like a time machine, bringing you back to the home-cooked meals of your youth. Every plate is packed with nostalgia, from the golden fried crunch of their perfect chicken fried steak to the unexpected modern-day malted upgrade to the usual humdrum workaday pancake. The love and care in their scratch-made dishes are evident to even the casual observer, bringing classic comfort food into the modern age without losing its soul. This was one of those reviews where choosing dish of the day was a seemingly impossible task. The pot roast dip is an absolutely delicious hearty classic, and there's a French onion soup to die for. The house-made corned beef sandwich was spectacular. Country fried steak, another slice of tradition done perfectly. The majestic wee burger, just the thought of that awesome bacon jam gets me salivating. And of course, anything covered in that exquisite hollandaise sauce. But after much consideration, standing out among a host of serious contenders, today's dish of the day was the malted pancake. A very unique dish indeed, but many unique creations, while notable, fall flat in the flavor department. The real trick is turning the unique into a classic. Well, with this dish, mission accomplished. Winnie and Ethel's serves up more than just a meal. It's a warm hug, a flavor-packed memory, and a place with so many reasons to return, such as the free refill 25-cent coffee. We'll be back very soon. Who knows, maybe you'll see us there. And don't forget to tell them, Let's Eat Vegas sent you. This would be a good time to hit the notifications bell so you get a reminder when the next review becomes available. And of course, it's always a good time to like, subscribe, comment, or share. It's free to do so, and it helps us to grow and to bring you more reviews. Until we eat again, bon appetit!